Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes. And Khalif, when you look at this decision, are you surprised what the judge in Jersey, what he did here?
I'm surprised by a lot of things that happened in Jersey. I'm originally from Philly, so that makes sense.
Oh, so you can say that. Of course you can.
But let's be clear. I think it followed a trend that makes sense if you follow the history. That's what I love about the law, that you can look back into old cases called precedent, and so the old cases will give you precedent for how the judge should rule. Oftentimes, in recent era, they're not doing that, but Justice Thomas in the Bruin decision laid the foundation to make it clear. When you had a lot of state legislators trying to do their own thing and create these gun law legislations that would, stop folks from getting handguns or stop them from getting AR-15s, and they created this two test, basically that does the Constitution outlaw it, and if the Constitution outlaws it, specifically the Second Amendment, then it's unconstitutional for this law to take place. The second factor that states were doing was saying, well, what's the balancing test? Is it in our interest, in our public interest, to outlaw these types of guns? And if it is, we should get rid of them. Thomas said, you know what, that standard is not the standard. The only standard is the first question. Does the Constitution outlaw it? And do we have a history of doing these types of things in the past? If the answer is no to both of them, then it's unconstitutional. And so that's what the judge said, is that my hands are tied, that I have to rely on the precedent for the judges that have set these things before me, which I totally agree with. And because the precedent was set before me, I can't do anything with this. Your ban is unconstitutional, even if you guys want to get rid of this. And if you look at the reading, 69-page opinion, you can see that the judge did not want to rule that way, but hands were tied. So I appreciate that portion.
He followed the law. Regardless of whether he agreed with it or not, he followed what was set by the Supreme Court. Also, though, took shots saying that the Congress and the president could do more. What do you see in the appeal process? Obviously, when we talk about two-way rights, that's not going away anytime soon. What would the appeal process look like, and what could we see down the road?
Both sides are going to appeal, and I think the capacity magazines, the large capacity magazines, using his own language, I think that opens the door for an appeal. If you're saying that you're going to rely on the Bruin decision specifically, does the Constitution specifically allow this type of thing to happen? Do we have a history of outlawing these type of things? Well, there's no history of outlawing these large capacity magazines, and so recent history, but the way that that's interpreted, both Scalia and Thomas, the way they looked at that, it was not recent history. It's, do we have a history looking all the way back in our history? And you really can't point to any history. His argument, even within this opinion, was there's a compelling public interest because the most recent shootings between 19 and 22 all use large magazine capacities to do these type of mass killings. And so I understand there's a public interest to want to get rid of these things because it does cut down on the attempt of multiple casualties when you have these shootings. But if you're going off the standard, which he did in his own opinion, it kind of was counterintuitive. And so I think when they appeal this, it may be overturned just on that alone.